Another pleasant good afternoon. John Verlin with On Demand Advertising Solutions. And following up from a podcast we did yesterday on telling Tammy, and by the way, she's not from Lenexa, as I indicate, she's from Leavenworth. And I appreciate her email wanting to know, when will my ads start to work? I want to follow up with what type. We've talked about a marketing platform, getting that developed, the importance of it. Now let's talk about what media you should advertise on, because now you can direct all that media to your website, to your blog, with any special information, offers, landing pages where you can capture email addresses, phone numbers, whatever. We can now talk about that because you've got an established marketing platform that you can build on forever on the web and a presence. Okay, let's review. I'm going to read something to you. And if you look at the blog post today, this is a great quote that I happened to find last week by a gentleman named Thomas Euler. He's founder of attentionecono.me. It's out of the UK. I believe he's an ad agency marketing person, but it's basically talking about the future of marketing in an on-demand age. Here's what he says. When a distribution is as simple as booting Facebook's ad manager and entering your credit card details, it's suddenly trivial. Instead, the quality of what you distribute becomes essential as it needs to resonate with users. That means two things. Creating said what is where the money ought to go, and that what is likely going to be to differ a lot from the mostly bad, irrelevant advertising we see today. I avoid the term content marketing for the whole hype it's surrounded by, and the fact that many agencies simply put old wine in new bottles, but the core assumption of creating stuff users actually want is right. Now, I love that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use that as my tagline, I think. That hits the nail on the head. In whatever you're doing with your advertising, you've got to create stuff users actually want about your product, your service, your industry. That's what it's all about. That's where he says the money should go in an on-demand age of on-demand economy, because everything's trivialized when it comes to buying advertising. So let's review some things you can do. Number one, I look at, because I know if you have to look at your budget, you need to look at your budget, obviously. So many, and this is 5, 6, 7 years ago, small businesses, they wouldn't even have $1,000 a month to spend. And particularly, you might have a car dealership spend $10,000, a bank $10 to $15, depending on what they were buying. But that doesn't mean they were profitable. That doesn't mean they had a good return on any of it. They could have just been throwing it away too. So that's why the quality of the stuff you create has to be so good, so users will interact and be engaged with it. Again, I go back to the marketing platform. That's why that's important, because that's a platform you can do stuff with to get them engaged once they come there. Otherwise, you're just throwing money away, getting people to go to a ho-hum website that they're not really engaged with. And you have to test all this. Maybe an offer, a 30% off offer might engage them. And this has to be ongoing. This is like a breathing organism. This is an ongoing lifetime journey in your entrepreneurial journey to create branding and marketing on an ongoing basis. It can't just be totally static. So let's look at your budget. What's available out there? Well, what are you going to create? What stuff are you going to create? Whether it's a product, something that's going to resonate. So, for example, this morning, I'm listening to Pandora, okay? And there's a local liquor store advertising on it, followed up by Amazon Prime Video promoting their new videos coming out. And I'm thinking, this never would have happened 5 years ago. A liquor store on digital radio, Pandora, and then Amazon's advertising on Pandora. What's going on? Well, this is what I'm talking about, the difficulty in all this of choosing the media, because it's so segmented now. There's so many little options like Pandora, Of course, you have radio. I heard on a local radio station that I only have listened to in the last week because of Christmas music in the car. And, they have the 15-minute blocks of commercials. I heard FedEx or UPS advertising jobs, warehouse jobs or delivery jobs. Now, how rare is that to hear UPS advertising jobs on radio? Print. Well, of course, today newspapers are digital. You get them on your smartphone, your tablet, your laptop. You can pick and choose the areas, the zip codes. You've got so many little fine-tuning options. When you go to television, traditionally you might buy news or sports programming. It costs money. That's their main local source of revenue. But again, what are you going to say to get them to come to your website, or if you have a store, is that you have to pick the appropriate media within your budget. And if you're on a narrow budget, that's going to limit some of that. So now we have Facebook ads, we've got Google AdWords, you've got Facebook Live streaming. I saw one the other night. I don't know how many people are using it, but as he says, this has become pretty trivial when you can just boot up a Facebook ad manager and put in your credit card number, and it works okay. But it depends on how much it has to work. So it's most likely, I forgot magazines and direct mail. You've got local lifestyle magazines you can have ads in, and then direct mail. For some people, they swear by either email marketing or direct mail, and that's great. You have to test each one of these within your budget. You can get some referrals from people. Just because direct mail worked 6 months ago doesn't mean it's going to work today. The dynamics may have changed enough that more and more people now, maybe you're listening to Pandora, and they're not going to get their mail, or they're refusing to open up an email that you sent them in an email marketing campaign because they get so much spam, they're fed up with it. Everything can change quickly. So one, check your budget, review the different options. I mentioned some here, whether it's in the case of Facebook ads, Google AdWords, you can test those fairly cheaply. You have to determine how much, and again, this is the argument on a lot of these, you don't have enough reach with some of these media, meaning you're not reaching enough people in your target demographic who would buy your product or service. And so you have to, again, it all comes down to your budget. What are you willing to commit to? And you may tell me, well, John, this whole idea of the social media promotion and the marketing platform, it's not cheap. I don't have time to do it. Then if you don't have time, either freelance it, hire someone, turn it over to a relative, but make sure they know what they're doing. You can't just say, well, son, you're a high school kid, go ahead and do this. Social media can be a two-edged sword. If you don't put the right stuff out or the wrong stuff and you offend somebody, think about that. We've seen this happen with tweets. You can pay a price. The other side of this issue of social media and what you put out there is that you've got to have somebody that has your voice. You've got to, the person or persons you hire or bring in, or if you do it, it all has to be in the same voice. You have to, it's the brand voice representing your business and your brand. It's got to be consistent. Wendy's is noted, they hired an ad agency to do the social media, and she was coming out with snarky little statements, kind of snapping at the Twitter followers, and people loved it, and it got all this viral attention. So that was a voice. So your goal of all that, and that's one other issue I want to bring up about the social media as far as its importance. A lot of businesses ignore it. It's not your issue, it's your customer's issue. If your customers are expecting you to have an online presence and a social media presence, they're going to hang out there. And they may expect it because they have a complaint or they want to give you a review, good or bad. That's why you need to consider social media as part of your media mix, one way or the other, because of the customers. This is the new expectation, I should say. And I know of several cases where a client did not have a social media presence and customers were complaining, and it got in a neighborhood Facebook page of complaints, and it got around to 8,000 or 9,000 people in that area where the business was located. Now and that came about because one of the employees was on that page and saw it and said, "Oh my gosh, these people are just knocking us down," and told the president of the business. So that's why the social media needs to be in there. Check your budget. Look at the options in your area: radio, TV, print, magazine, Pandora, Google AdWords, Facebook ads, Twitter ads, maybe LinkedIn ads, depending on what you want, email marketing. It's all good. And I mentioned yesterday, too, about networking. Business cards, wear a shirt with your logo on it, get out and meet people in your prime target. For example, chamber events, join the chamber. You'll get on their website, go in with business cards, meet people. Don't go after them with a sickle and hammer. I mean, well, that's a bad example, but it's a soft sell when you go to events and memberships and things like that. It's getting to know people and they get to know you. And that's what all of this is about, is getting trust. Whether you're on a social media thing or content, or you're using your blog, or you're advertising on radio or TV, whatever you're doing, the whole point of this is to create multiple touch points with prospects, so they begin to feel like they know you. And that was the magic we had in radio years ago, particularly for contractors or people that would come into your home and tear up your countertop. They had to have trust. And the magic, and radio is a great way to do this, particularly if you get a personality. Today, on the online, they talk about getting influencers to recommend you, and it's not cheap. You got to get their attention. You got to pay them big money usually. But the same can be accomplished with a local radio station and a personality. It's not cheap, but it's a great way to do it, having them talk about your business, things like that. And that was a great way. Running ads ongoing with radio was a great way. Same with TV, where people feel like they know the owner or they know you because you've been doing it consistently. And that's a whole nother thing. But once you find that niche and the type of medium that you're getting results from, consistently be consistent within your budget. Don't stop, because it's a drip, drip, drip of a faucet of how you begin to mold people's behavior about how they see you and your brand. John Verlin, 12 at AT&T.net. OnDemandAdvertisingSolutions.com is the website. Email me with any questions, comments. Love to hear from you. Customer engagement is huge. That's why I ask you to send me comments or questions or whatever, because getting feedback, and that's one of the things, a lot of the things I'm sharing with you is in the hour-long presentation or consultation I give to a client. It's getting involved more, finding out more about their business, showing capabilities and what they can do for them to make decisions. And a lot of this, it comes down to really is not only their budget, what they're trying to accomplish, and the best ways to do it cost effectively. It's just kind of using experience to go through, well, here's what did work, what could work, where do we go from here? And a lot of the things I'm sharing with you, such as these infographics and all, is what I go through in detail to kind of further explain in this brave new world of on-demand economy what to expect and the best way to get at it. So learning about your customer and what their needs are is one of the first steps we recommend in doing some sort of survey or a way to gauge response to help form and develop that content. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.